We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support the show, help us keep the lights on. When you make a comment, hit the $sign with a donation. We'll get to your comments as soon as possible. Welcome on in to the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a PATC legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. Purdue has the receipts. The receipts on Michigan, violating the in-person scouting more than once when it comes to the Purdue Boilermakers. Before we get in the story, Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, broke this morning. I want to make something perfectly clear. Because and it's good. I mean, look, I love disagreement at PATC. It would be boring if we all agreed. It would be boring. To me, it would be boring if we were just all one fan base of a team. That's me. That's me. I like the interactions. I like a little bit of friendly elbows being thrown between UCLA, USC fans, Washington, Oregon fans, Michigan, Ohio State fans. We got crab cakes in football, Maryland. We've got everybody from everywhere on this channel. And we're going to disagree. We're going to get upset with each other. There are times we're going to agree. And many, many times in this channel, we're going to learn from each other because we come from different parts of the college football country, different heritage, different history, different fan bases, different perceptions. But this Michigan story has a whole lot of people united. And I get it. Michigan, there's great support for the Michigan football program. I get it. It should be. There's great support for Jim Harbaugh. And I don't get it. I understand that the Michigan Wolverines have won the last 2 Big Ten championships. And that is probably why people have circled the wagon around Jim Harbaugh. If Michigan went 8-4 those last 2 years, I got a feeling that the Michigan fan base and the beat writers, they would not be circling the wagon on Jim Harbaugh. And that is disappointing. Again, do I know for sure that Jim Harbaugh knew what was going on? Do I know for sure Jim Harbaugh had direct knowledge? Do I know for sure that Jim Harbaugh involved himself in this in-person scouting scandal? I'm not calling it a scheme anymore. It's a scandal. No, I don't. Of course I don't. But if he did not know what was going around him, if he did not know that was Connie Stallions 10 feet away from him, telling the offensive coordinator that there's going to be edge pressure, if Jim Harbaugh spent 3 years never asking Connie Stallions the question, where are you getting these laminated hand signals from our opponent, in which they are incredibly accurate? How are you getting? If Jim Harbaugh, that's all possible, I guess. But that means Jim Harbaugh doesn't have control over his football program. And it means that Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion, in my healthy, strong opinion, should be suspended as soon as possible. Off the sidelines, man. He represents the Michigan football program. He is the head coach. He's responsible for the actions of the student athletes and his coaching staff. And yes, it is so hard to maintain structure when you've got 100 young men on your roster. No question about it. We as fans, people who report on college football, there has to be some leeway. Nothing is ever going to go perfect under a head coach. But my goodness, look what has happened to the Michigan football program. I'm not even going to report on the story, the video that came out yesterday about a former Michigan staff member and what he tried to do. I'm just not going to go with it. There's other YouTube programs that can do a deep dive on that. The hamburger thing we haven't spent much time on, but this in-person scouting, it's a scandal. And look, before we get in the story, I want to make something perfectly clear. I know there's a lot of Michigan fans mad at me. They have sworn me off forever. My phone is filled with it. But I am the one, I'm going to tell you right now, just like I told the PATC community when it came to the Colorado story, Washington and Oregon, everything that we've broken, we've helped to break, or we have covered here at Peek Around the Corner. At the end of the day, I'm going to be able to look at you straight in the eye, and I'm going to be able to tell you I gave you the straight shoot. I'm not going to say the other word. I'll just say it like the straight shoot. I gave it to you straight. I'm not the one out there that's throwing up all these ridiculous deflections. I'm not the one that's trying to cast Michigan at... I'm not one of those that are casting this as a great smear job, or Michigan is a great victim, or this is being done by Ohio State investigation firms and all these other stories. And I'm not the one who said in-person scouting was not illegal. I didn't put that out there for 2 days. I'm not the one who said everyone does it. I did not do that. We've been accurate here at Peek Around the Corner. We told you this was a violation. And it's only gotten worse. The evidence is only mounted up. We haven't even heard the result of the Central Michigan investigation. Was that Connor Stalions on the sideline or not? Was he video cameraing? Was he doing video with his sunglasses? If that was him. And if it wasn't him, why can't you come up with a name? Who gave him this? Who gave that gentleman, whoever was on the sideline, the shirt and the hat? This story is only growing, and now we have the Michigan story. I mean, we have the Purdue, Michigan story. Purdue has the receipts. The coach, Walters, has come out and talked publicly. I said this on Twitter this morning, and I mean it. Of course I mean it. Michigan Wolverines have won more games. They won games and titles before Jim Harbaugh showed up as the head coach, before he showed up as a quarterback. And once Jim leaves, Michigan is going to win games and championships after Jimmy Harbaugh is gone. Before, Michigan was a successful, huge, powerful brand in college football. Before, and they will be again after. And I don't care who I upset. If I upset Nittany Lion fans and Buckeye fans and Duck fans and Husky fans and Gopher fans with that statement, so be it. Michigan is going to be a giant again. You don't need Jim Harbaugh. Yes, some coaches, some recent coaching hires did not work out. Rich Rodriguez, Brady Hoke. Michigan is going to be Michigan again. Someday, after Jim Harbaugh is gone. You don't need Jim Harbaugh. You do not need to wrap yourself around the body of Jim Harbaugh. You do not need to fall into this cult of personality with Jim Harbaugh. Either he knew this was all going on or he didn't. Either way, the suspension, the hammer's coming down on him. And as long as he's the head coach, you can take this as it is. There's a whole lot of lost respect for the Michigan football program as long as Jim Harbaugh is there. Again, I don't know if he had direct knowledge. If he didn't, I mean, where are you, Jim Harbaugh? You don't have control over your football program. Michigan can't even tell us if that wasn't Connor Stalions on the sidelines of Central Michigan. Where was Connor Stalions that night? Michigan can't tell us, I guess. It's again, keep your head on a swivel. There could be breaking news about the Central Michigan investigation as we are live here. We're going to go into the Ross Dellinger story. Breaking news. Purdue has the receipts. We're going to go into just, this has been reported on, but there's a little bit of a nugget of, and this is, I'm not breaking anything new, but I'm just going to give you, there's something that has really, really angered the Big Ten coaches and all of this. There's something here that it's beyond the unequal competitiveness on the foot. There's something else that is really, that has got people really angry about this. Much more than all this other potential cheating that's going on. We're going to get into that. Then we're going to have to do our picks against the spread. Let me just talk about it for 2 seconds here before we go into the Ross Dellinger Yahoo article. The fat guy from Minnesota, myself, Greg the Cooler, against the spread last week, I went 1-7. PATC community went 4-4. So my record for the year is against the spread is 30 wins, 39 losses, and 2 ties. And the PATC community, with your votes, and you're going to be voting on later today, 29 wins, 40 losses, 2 ties. You're now 1 game in back of me. You guys had a great week. A 500 record is a great week against the spread for the PATC community or for myself. We are dreadful. So we're going to do that for the Week 10 games. We got we got 9 games. 9 of them. This is a big week. A lot bigger week in college football than the previous week. First of all, let me thank everybody for coming on in into this lunchtime Friday afternoon show before we get to the Ross Dellinger Purdue story. Bruce Harris, Sooner, thank you for coming on in. Jay Perlmutter, the UCLA Bruin, Minnesota getting all ready for next year. Going to Pasadena. Minnesota's going to the Rose Bowl to play UCLA. Thank you, Turtle. Thanks for coming on in. Matt, I don't understand that story. Somebody's going to have to educate me why Sean Lewis is no longer calling the plays at Colorado. They're bringing somebody else in. What's his name? Somebody's going to have to either explain to me on a phone call in the chat room, or I'll pick up on it when I get off this live show. I read a little bit about it. I just shook my head. Skull Ducky, thanks for coming on in. John Bennett, Bear FN, thanks for coming on in. Stephen McNeely is alive. Randy Taylor, it is Friday. Daniel, thanks for coming on in. Tony, 1-7. No wonder it's been so cold here this week. Greg the Cooler, it is. Yeah, it's embarrassing. I don't know what I'm going to do. I may have to have the little general make my picks one of these weeks just to get off the canvas. I need a little bit more. I need some momentum. Thanks for coming on in. Gerald McKinley. Have you talked to a Michigan source recently, Greg? Some things could be happening soon. Tuffy Duffy. Jim will sign an extension. The president wants him no matter what happens. Billy Tuesday. We'll see about Petiti. Minnesota will get penalty for this. Don't go getting any ideas. Chad, thanks for coming on in. Waiting till after the season to do anything sends the message that during a good year you can get away with anything and win it all. Again, it's my strongly held opinion, and I think I'm still in the minority on this, but they're not going to wait till the end of the season. Not from what, and I said all this stuff before the last 2 days of articles. We said it 4 nights ago. We said people inside the Big Ten were hot. We're going to give you a little bit of a nugget. One little, among all the issues, there's one issue that's standing out among all others. And we'll get to that in a second. Tony Petiti, first of all, he has political cover. And number 2, he is, like the report said yesterday, he's going to lose people. He's going to lose the other 13 universities. He's going to lose their support. And the gates of hell are going to open up if Michigan doesn't, at least Jim Harbaugh, something has to be said about this. The evidence is overwhelming that Michigan did in-person scouting to benefit them on the football playing field. It's overwhelming, and it's only going to get worse. Now it's up to over 40 games that this Conner Stallions bought tickets for. 40 different games. More evidence of surveillance of people filming the games. All illegal. All of it illegal. I don't care how many beat writers of Michigan tells you this is not illegal. Either they don't know what they're talking about, they haven't read the rules, or they dare not lose your consumership to whatever they're selling. Peek around the corner, we don't work that way. We are going to say it like it is, and if everybody leaves the chat, so be it. If everybody unsubscribes, so be it. Our credibility is the only thing we have. And that's it. That's all that we got. And I think we've proven that in the 14, 15 months, whatever, we've been open. On the stories that we have broken. On the stories that we have covered. This is a huge scandal. And it's only gotten bigger since the first time we started reporting on it, which was right away. Thank you for coming on in, Kirk, Jim Reese, Bigfoot Duck, and everybody else that had Pat Schumer. Yeah, he's the one who has come on. Thank you, Colorado Buffalo, Richard L. Appreciate it. Before we get to... No, let's do the Ross Dellinger article. And then I'm just going to give you a little bit of a nugget. That when I was told that he's just burning the chaps, just something that is lending fuel to our coaches, athletic directors, like Haller, the Michigan State athletic director. People are talking in force who normally do not talk with a loud voice. There is one thing above everything else that the Big Ten, people inside the Big Ten, are hot about. Sources. Ross Dellinger broke this morning, Friday morning. Purdue probe finds Michigan's Conner Stallions bought tickets to 6 of its games in the last 2 years. 6 of them. 6 of them. Now, undoubtedly, this wasn't about scouting Purdue all 6 games. It was their opponents. But more evidence is piling in that Michigan was scouting, in-person scouting, against teams that on a regular, flat playing field would be 3, 4, 5 touchdown underdogs against them. And yet they were still in-person scouting against them. I mean, it's unbelievable. During his weekly radio on Thursday night, Purdue's first-year coach Ryan Walters did not hold back. 2 days before his Boilermakers traveled to Michigan Stadium to meet the number 2 Michigan, he spoke publicly and candid as any administrator or coach about the Wolverines' sign-stealing scheme. It's unfortunate. What's crazy is they weren't allegations, he said. It happened. There's video evidence. There's ticket purchases and sales that you can track back. We know for a fact that they were at a number of our games. So we've had to teach our guys new language in terms of some signals. Purdue has the receipts. In its own investigation into the matter, the university has found that Conner Stallions, this is Purdue University, has found that Conner Stallions, Michigan's now suspended analyst at the center of the scheme, at the center of the scandal, purchased tickets to 6 games at Ross-Ade Stadium over the last 2 years. Sources tell Yahoo Sports. 6 tickets. They include 4 of the first 5 home games this year: Fresno State, Syracuse, Illinois, and Ohio State. He bought tickets as well for home games in 2022 against Penn State and Northwestern. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make something perfectly clear. When College Stallions bought tickets for people to go into the stadium and do video footage, and we're going to learn that in the next paragraph, that's what happened. The Michigan Wolverines were not doing in-person scouting on the Fresno State Bulldogs. No offense to Fresno State. But the chances of Michigan playing Fresno State in the college football playoffs were basically 0. No offense to Fresno State Bulldogs. Ladies and gentlemen, when Connie Stallion bought tickets to a Purdue game, home game against Syracuse, the University of Michigan's football program was not doing in-person scouting on the Syracuse Orange. No offense to Syracuse. When Connie Stallions bought tickets for the Purdue Northwestern game, what? To do in-person scouting. What? Michigan was doing in-person scouting, which is prohibited. They were filming the games. They were learning the hand signals. They were making laminated charts, no question about it, before they ever stepped foot on the field against the Purdue, against the Northwestern. Teams that they would have 4 touchdown favorites on. Just to gain that little bit more of a percentage that they can stop the defense and the offense of the opponents. But that is not what's even ticking off the coaches the most, and we'll get to it at the end of the story. Some of the tickets were transferred to accounts registered in names believed to be Stallion's family members. The university has video footage from stadium surveillance of people sitting in seats that he purchased, filming the sidelines. The university has presumably transferred such evidence to NCAA investigators, and we learned from a report yesterday that the NCAA has given Tony Petitti at least some of the evidence. Not maybe this particular evidence, but this huge amount of evidence that's coming in. Tony Petitti has seen some of it now. We know that. Now we know that. That's an important part of the story. Walter's public comments echoed many private complaints about both Big Ten coaches, athletic directors, and meetings with Commissioner Tony Petitti over the last week. On Thursday night, as Walters was making his comments, the league's athletic directors continue to urge action from the conference on what appears to be an elaborate multi-year scandal to scout future opponents' games to learn the play call signals. The scheme was elaborate enough that many of the Big Ten coaches knew of Michigan's sign stealing to alert TCU ahead of its win over Wolverines in the college football playoff semifinal last year. In an interesting wrinkle, Ohio State made a request for clarification on the NCAA sign stealing policy ahead of the college football playoffs semifinals last year. Sign stealing is not against the rules, but in-person scouting of future opponents as well as recorded signals is. The NCAA is 3 weeks into investigation into a scheme that has seen Stallions purchase tickets to at least now 40 football games. It was 35 last week, both within the Big Ten and those in contention for the college football playoff, such as Tennessee, Georgia, Clemson, and Alabama. However, the Big Ten stakeholders are now encouraging Petitti to take action now. Walters is the first to take his feelings public, airing them on local radio before the Boilermakers meet Michigan at the Big House. We will operate differently offensively. You might see us in the huddle for the first time this season, Walters continued on the radio show. It is what it is. We're excited to go play. And then the last part of this article goes over what we have already learned. So, there has been 6 ticket bought in the last 2 years to Purdue Boilermaker games. I want to go through some super chats, and then I want to get into what is the number one issue. What I was told last night that is bringing out the anger in the Big Ten coaches, the Big Ten football coaches. John, hire Tom Brady and watch the Blue Chips walk on. Thank you, John Teal, for your super chat, for your generosity to this channel. And again, John Teal with the super chat. Kids would line up to play for Brady. The name of the game is talent. He can hire great staff and let him work. He knows a few things about quarterback. Thank you, John Teal, for your super chat. I appreciate the generosity, helping us keep the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. Thank you so very much. Now, here's the number one issue. The number one issue for the coaching staffs, for the coaches from the Big Ten when it comes to this 3-year scheme scandal of in-person reporting. The number one issues is when these teams, when they scrimmage against each other, when they wait until late August, about the second week of August, third week in August, to have some scrimmages with pads on, the coaches, they limit the scrimmages, right? Because of the increase in potential injury to their players. Because a lot of times the defense, you get to know the other team's offense, the defense, when they know where the plays come in, it increases the potentiality of injury to the offensive player. That is what they're most angry about. Their players, the 13 other university, the coaching staffs who have played Michigan, they're most concerned that when they call a running play to the right and suddenly Michigan changes to 2 safeties crashing down on the right side, leaving the deep middle of the field wide open because Michigan absolutely knew what play that their opponent just called, you're increasing the injury factor, the potentiality of injury to that running back, to that offensive lineman, who's ever trying to make that extra block. And over a series of plays and games, that is what they're most pissed off about. That is what made, being told this is what made this a scandal. This is what rose the coaches up and say, my players had a more of an increase of chance of injury in this violent game than the Michigan Wolverine players did. My student athletes, my players, my guys were more at risk because of this in-person scouting scandal. That is what they're most upset about. Forget about the competition thing, the safety thing. That is what they're most upset about. And they are not gonna, and Tony Petitti, the lights are burning hot on him. There's reports that he's going to meet with Michigan's president today. We're still waiting on the Central Michigan investigation, which I think is another just a story that's going to blow up because it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for Michigan. Again, Jim Harbaugh knew nothing about it, nothing about this. If that's the case, then he does not belong on the sideline of a college football program in the Big Ten because he lost control of his college football program. Disagree with me in the chat, disagree with me, call me up in the phone call. But before we get to that, we have to make our predictions. Then we'll get into Michigan, Purdue. Purdue having the receipts. You can talk about anything in college football that you want when we get to the phone calls. But we have to make our picks. And the reason why we're doing it on Friday and not early in the week is because we've been jam-packed with stories. Stories that we had to cover. Big 12 schedule, Big 10 schedule, Michigan scandal. It kept going and going and going. And we had to cover it all. So let's get to, first of all, you guys, the PATC community is going to make the selections first with your votes. So we're going to start off with Purdue at Michigan. Purdue at Michigan. Why not? Let's get it going. Does Michigan cover minus 32.5 point spread versus Purdue? Purdue, who has the receipts, 32.5 point spread. The voting begins now. Voting begins now. Again, the PATC community's record against the spread is 29-40-2. The fat guy from Minnesota, my record is 30-39-2. We are both doing horrific. Purdue and Michigan, 32.5 points. I'm going to give the voting public 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 57% has Purdue. 57% has the Purdue Boilermakers covering the spread. Interesting. Purdue is, well, they are a complete mess. That's a big line, though. That's a gigantic line. I wonder if Vegas is making sure that people take the Boilermakers side of the play. Just, don't want to lose your shirt. Vegas doesn't want to lose their shirt on any one game. No, they have to try to get a 50-50 split on the betting money, on the money handle, on both sides of the ledger. Okay, does Notre Dame cover minus 3 point spread versus Clemson? The voting begins now. Giving the voting public 5 more seconds. Does Notre Dame cover the 3 point spread of it versus Clemson? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The voting public takes Notre Dame. Notre Dame 74%. Clemson is struggling. No question about it. I might agree with you guys on that. We shall see. This is a tough one. I'm sorry. This is a tough game. That's why I picked it. Does Texas cover the -4.5 point spread versus Kansas State Wildcats. The voting begins now. Voting begins now. It's got to be a close one here. Got to be a close vote. I can't imagine it being a landslide. I've been wrong before. The PATC community has fooled me many, many times before, actually. Here we go. We got a close vote. It's going back and forth. We're going to give this 5 more seconds. It's all tied up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The voting stops. 53% of the PATC community takes Kansas State. That was a close one. I figured it'd be a close one. Man, that's a tough game. Okay, here we go. Bedlam. Oh, no. Here we go. Does Oklahoma, the Sooners, cover -5.5 point spread versus the Cowboys? I'll just put the Cowboys. Here we go. The voting begins now. It's not that close. The voting is not that close. We're going to give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, it got a little closer. 60% is taking Oklahoma State. The Cowboys. Okay, interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Missouri and Georgia. Missouri. Upset special? Is this an upset special? Does Georgia cover -15.5 point spread versus Missouri? The voting begins now. It's got a close vote here. I'm going to give the voting public 5 more seconds to cast their vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ooh. No! It was 50-50. It was 50-50. Right when I hit the no button. I don't know what to do. I think we got to re-vote on it. I'm sorry. We have to have a new election. Does Georgia cover -15.5? This is controversial here. Does Georgia cover the 15.5 point spread? Normally I would have just did overtime, but I hit the stop. Does Georgia cover 15.5 point spread versus Missouri? This is highly controversial. We got to do this one over again. Sorry about that, guys. It was 50-50. Now watch it be a landslide here on the revote. People changing their minds. People don't even remember what they voted. Election fraud. No question about it. Okay, I'm going to give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This time, Missouri takes it. Controversy right there. Okay, Virginia Tech, Louisville. Very important game here in the ACC race to see who plays the Florida State Seminoles in the ACC championship game at the end of the year. Does Louisville cover minus 9.5 point spread versus Virginia Tech? The voting begins now. Virginia Tech, Louisville, very important ACC game. Again, if you're just joining us, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, smash the like button. If you want to donate to the channel, hit the $sign with your comments. We'll get to your comment as soon as possible. We're doing some picks here against the spread, and then we're going to go back to be talking about Purdue has the receipts on Michigan and any other things you want to talk about college football as we go into week 10. Week 10 of the college football season. 5 seconds to vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The big majority, 76%, takes Louisville. Interesting. I might have to go different on that. I feel that Louisville has hit the wall. We'll get to that in a second. Kansas against Iowa State. I always get the Kansas games wrong, so we'll see what happens here. Does Iowa State, the hot Iowa State Cyclones, does Iowa State cover the minus 2.5 point spread versus Kansas? Now, I expect a very close vote on this one. The voting begins now. No, it's not close. It's not close. The game is in Ames, Iowa. 5 seconds to vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 68% takes Kansas. Holy smokes. The Kansas Jayhawks get a lot of love in the chat room when it comes to the voting against the spread, but I got to tell you, I've not done a good job. I don't think you guys have done a good job on picking the winner to cover the spread in any of these Kansas Jayhawks games. I am 0 for 5, I guess. I think. Something like that. So, okay, here we go. Now we're getting serious here. Real serious. Does Washington, offense sputtering the last two of their games, does Washington cover the minus 3 point spread versus USC? Does Washington Huskies cover the minus 3 point spread versus the Trojans? The voting starts now. We got one more game after this. And then I'm going to hurry up and do my picks real quick. I know there's lots to talk about here in college football. Lots to talk about. This is a landslide. The voting is a landslide, ladies and gentlemen. We'll give it 5 more seconds. We don't need 5 more seconds. But 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The late precincts came in, but it did not change the outcome. 84% takes the Washington Huskies. Holy smokes. The last, this is the last one here. Big Saturday night game. I believe it's 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. I might be wrong. No, CBS. I don't know. Whatever. I think it's a 7:30 Eastern game. I think it's CBS. I could be wrong. Who knows what? I think it's ABC. Go check it out. Does Alabama cover -3-point spread versus LSU? Big game in the SEC. Huge game. The voting begins now. CBS, okay. CBS. I thought I remember it was CBS, but then I was like, it's a 6:30 game. Whatever. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tony. Architect, go black. Appreciate it. AAR, roll tide, roll. The Surrey Killers says Fighting Kellies win. Laura Weiss, the Texas Tech Red Raider. This was hard for me. Okay, we'll give you 5 more seconds. A lot of votes on this one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, 62% says no. 62% takes LSU. Holy smokes. Wow, that surprises me. I know I've been talking about Alabama slippage here all program, all season, off season long. I didn't think you guys were listening to me. Okay, so let's get to my picks real quick. It will not take too long. Then we'll get to your phone calls and to your comments. We'll get to your super chats. Purdue, Michigan. You guys took Purdue. I'm taking Michigan. Unfortunately for Purdue, they're all banged up. I mean, they are a car wreck. I think that's why the line went up more than anything has to do with stealing in-person scouting. I'm taking Michigan on that one. You guys got Purdue. Clemson and Notre Dame. I agree with you guys. I'm taking the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Kansas State, Texas. You all took Kansas State. I'm taking Kansas State. Even though I got Texas winning the Big 12. Will Howard. Kansas State is... It looks like the Wildcats are taking off. Oklahoma State. Wow. I got to go with Ollie Gordon. I got to go with the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So I've agreed so far with every one of your picks, except for you all got Purdue. I got Michigan, Missouri, and Georgia. The PATC community took Missouri, 55% of the vote. And I'm taking Georgia. The Bulldogs are going to roll. It's an interesting game, though. It is. Missouri's been playing great this year. Virginia Tech at Louisville. And again, I'm taking the Louisville Cardinals, just like the PATC community. Kansas at Iowa State. I'm taking Kansas, just like the PATC community. Washington and USC. I'm taking Washington, just like the PATC community. And then finally, LSU and Alabama. I'm taking LSU, just like the PATC community. So we agreed on all the plays against the spread, except for I've got Michigan, you've got Purdue, I've got Georgia, you got Mizzou. That rhymes. So it all works. Thanks for voting. I appreciate it. Now let's get to, again, I'm 30, 39, and 2 against the spread. You guys are 29, 40, and 2. One game difference. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm caught up on the super chats. I just want to make sure before we get to your calls, I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything here. In regards to the report that Michigan is currently in possession of documents that could link the private and guest investigators behind the sign stealing scandal back to Ohio State, I would like to see those documents. I would like to see the evidence. I don't know how much, if it's true, I don't know how much that changed the story of the in-person scouting. Doesn't really change the story unless whoever was the investigation firm that was doing the investigation, if they planted evidence, then I would like to see evidence of that. I'm not taking that seriously at this time. For those who are asking, for those who keep sending me direct messages, there's lots of parts to the story that to me doesn't pass the smell test. There's a lot of conspiracies that are being thrown out there. A lot of them are ridiculous. Some of them might just have a little bit of plausibility to them. Another one that just came out, since Harbaugh came out multiple times in favor of revenue sharing, the hit pieces, the allegations came all after him. How many coaches have come out and said they're in favor of student athletes getting more revenue? A lot, all of them. Almost all of them. Maybe not Dabble Sweeney. Again, it's just a lot of people are throwing up a lot of stuff because now they finally figured out that Michigan did do something that was illegal. They've been doing it, and it was an elaborate plan, and there's a lot of evidence pointing towards Michigan doing it. Whoever was directing it, was it just Connor Stallions alone? We do not know. But there's just so much being thrown out there, and I have yet to see really any evidence to sustain any of these conspiracies so far. And that is why I think the major outlets haven't done the stories on them. Because there's nothing there yet. So, again, not really going to be focusing on those types of stories unless I see something with some evidence, with some meat on the bone. Okay, we're going to open up the phone lines here. You can talk about anything in college football, and that includes the games this week, the schedules that have come out for the conferences this week, the Michigan in-person scouting, anything you want to talk about. The phone lines are now open. 763-260-1333. The conference races are heating up. Kansas State and Texas, that's a big one. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, that's a gigantic football game. Not just the rivalry, But the conference race itself, Oklahoma just lost their first conference game. Oklahoma State's on a big winning streak. Sean Lewis, I don't know what's going on there. Sean Lewis could be the new offensive coordinator at Iowa. That would be fantastic for Iowa. Absolutely fantastic. Greg, if you got invited to the family house for Thanksgiving, you can tell us that you better bring, again, this focus on the messenger. This focus on, you remember during the Pac-12, Big 12 saga, how those who did not want to believe the Pac-12 was in trouble, those who did not want to believe that the media companies weren't going to give them a good deal. Do you know all the stuff they said about me being completely wrong about the story? And they kept focusing on Dennis Dodd.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate. Can you hold for a second?
Of course.
Appreciate it. They kept focusing on Dennis Dodd. Dennis Dodd is lying. Everybody's lying. Andrew Michon, his article goes on the New York Post. That means he's lying. It's always about the messenger when none of the facts line up the way you want them to line up. And now, this time it's Thamel. Thamel is the problem. Thamel is the problem. Except that Ross Dellinger is reporting the same stuff. Except for The Athletic is reporting the same stuff. They all have different sources. Some of them are the same sources. Except for you have Connor Stallions, or a guy who looks exactly like Connor Stallions, which nobody knows the name of yet, is standing on the Central Michigan sideline. You have surveillance cameras pointing toward these stadiums. Matt, I'm sorry, but these deflections have now become, excuse me for saying this, these deflections have now become either embarrassing or just attempts to troll the issue. There's nothing there with about 95% of the pushback. It's not illegal. Yes, it is illegal. Everyone does it. No, nobody's doing it. It's Pete Thamel. He's the one. It's embarrassing. I'm sorry. Look, I've got biases against ESPN, but this is embarrassing. Pete Thamel, come on. I'm being invited to Thanksgiving. None of these people know me from a hole in the wall. Well, a few of them do. But Pete Thamel doesn't. It's just, if you've got nothing, people resort to this. People resort to this. These talking points are worthless. Now they've become embarrassing. When you have a head coach, I'm sorry, Immaculate, just give me 30 more seconds. When you've got a head coach who's going to play Michigan on Saturday, Purdue is going to get throttled by Michigan. He's coming out in public and saying, yeah, we got the receipts. There's so much evidence of this. And they are pissed off. And if you want to keep saying, it doesn't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter if the Big Ten is... Yeah, it is going to matter. It is going to matter. At some point, it's going to matter. Again, Matt and every other Michigan person in the chat room, Michigan was Michigan before Jim Harbaugh. They're going to be Michigan after Jim Harbaugh. But during this era of Jim Harbaugh, whether he knew it, directed it himself, or was a bubbling idiot and didn't know what was going on, this era of Michigan football with Jim Harbaugh is now embarrassing. It's embarrassing. They went to such great lengths that is prohibited by the NCAA rules. And I told you in the monologue, what the coaches are most pissed about is the fact that their student athletes, their guys, the chances of them being injured increased because Michigan knew exactly what the other team was doing. So you can mock this story, you can talk about Pete Thamel, or you can troll all you want. But now, on November 3rd, even before the Central Michigan story, it's gonna get broken wide open here soon. It's become embarrassing. Okay, Immaculate, the floor is yours. Disagree with me, agree with me. Iowa, Northwestern, Minnesota, Illinois. What say you, sir?
Well, in terms of Michigan, I'm pretty much talked out on that. I think everyone's sitting here and waiting. I think they want to see if Penn State can get the win over them. If they do, at home, Michigan probably drops out of the top 6. The CFP is not going to be too open and obvious about it, but if they get the chance, they're going to say Michigan doesn't have a great schedule and they lost their big game there, so they're going to drop them down. And then I think that's probably when the Big Ten would actually do something. Right now, as it stands, as distasteful as it may be, I don't see the Big Ten acting right now. I can be wrong. Maybe, hopefully, I'm wrong, but that's just kind of where I'm at. That I'm pretty much sitting and watching a lot of these little footages coming out about it. It's just kind of looks bad. But the CMU thing, just waiting to see what they say. I don't know. That's kind of just waiting at this point. But it's a big talking story, so I get why folks are going to be talking about it the whole time. In terms of Minnesota and Illinois, I hope you guys beat them. I mean, we're rivals, but I don't care for Illinois. They don't want anything to do with Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa doesn't want anything to do with them. It's just like, here we are. We share a border, and we could just care less about each other. I lived in the Quad Cities. That's where I'm born and raised. And
Okay.
I can tell you, there's a thing between Iowa and Illinois people even there. It's just, we may be rivals, but I'm like, go Minnesota. Just beat them.
Wow, I think the game could go either way. It's just going to hinge on like one play, scooping a score, something like that.
Yeah. I want to see you guys win, so we'll see about that.
Right.
But in terms of Iowa, I'm calling it. We got dibs on this one, and I know we got dibs on Sean Lewis. I've been pulling for Prime in Colorado.
Oh my God!
Stories that people line up on the other side, and that's fine. But this move, I thought that Sean Lewis was the heir apparent. I mean, I don't think you do this to your heir apparent. Sean Lewis, he was a tight end at Wisconsin. This is Iowa. We do tight ends, man. Let's get ourselves an old tight end that comes in there who's also kind of I'd say a forward-thinking offensive mind. But as a tight end, I think he'd be fine with running something that Ferentz would be okay with. He fixes our offense, 3 or 4 years down the road. I think that's maybe Ferentz would be ready to retire. Then we just hand the reins over to Lewis. I don't know. I like it. I know that there might be some sexier jobs out there, but if you're looking to go get into a head coaching position and you want security, do you have a place that has any more of a reputation for allowing their head coach to have time than Iowa does?
Yeah. Sean Lewis, man. Has there been any comments from him about this at all, or about
this just came out today?
Yeah. So
Nothing.
I don't know. Just speculation on my part, but man, I would find it kind of. I don't think he'll be back at Colorado next year.
This is wild. I mean, they're bringing up an analyst. They're going to have to downgrade a coach in order to make this happen. This isn't just making a statement. I mean, this is he does not believe in Sean Lewis.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And, Richard L. in chat, Colorado guy, I feel bad for him on this, and any Colorado fan. But as an Iowa guy, hey, if your coach is going to toss him aside like this, we'll take him because I think he was well proven at Kent State. I think, if he's a Big Ten tight end player from the past, at Wisconsin, I think he'd actually would know the area enough to maybe think, hey, that's a good spot, whereas other people from other areas will go, I don't know if I want to go to Iowa. So, I'm putting him on the short.
Yeah.
And of course, coaches got to meet, coaches got to talk. It's not just about him and Ferentz, it's about him and Parker. I think Parker's going to have a say. because if Parker's going to outlast Ferentz, this guy could become his head coach.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Good point.
But that's right. When that came out today, because I've been wondering, like, who is the best option? I mean, there's some good options out there, but sitting there going, I don't know if we can pull that one. I don't know if we can do that. But with this thing going on, and with us having this opening right now, they got a head start.
Yeah, it to me, it'd be a great fit, a great marriage. We'll see. Pretty interesting, though.
Yeah. Yeah, the Ohio State guys in chat are a little rough on me right now, but I get it. That's okay. It's all right. I wouldn't want to see Sean Lewis at Iowa either. It's all good. But yeah, that's it, man. As far as Michigan stuff, I'm just waiting and seeing. We'll see.
Got it.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Good talk. Have a good day.
All right, you too, Mac. Thank you, Mr. Hot Guy. Great call, Iowa Northwestern, Wrigley Field. The line's about, 29.5 points? Has that changed? Let me get through some super chats here. Let me thank everybody. Tony, tough Tony, Gopher Tony. Can the Gophers finally beat Brett Bielema? Oh. I know this sounds like a cop-out because it's a cop-out. But it's going to come down to Newton, the great defensive tackle, number 4 for Illinois, is out for the first half for a targeting hit. So Gophers have to make hay. We actually have to score. We actually have to take the lead. When's the last time the Gophers scored first in a football game? It's been a while. Gophers are going to have the lead going into halftime, and it's going to be close, Tony. It could go either way. I'm going to take the Gophers, but Reggie Brown, very good running back from Illinois. He's coming back tomorrow. I don't know what's going on with Taylor and Evans, the two really good freshmen running back for the Gophers who missed last week against Michigan State. Don't know. I don't know what's going on. So we'll see how healthy we are. Illinois is getting healthier. Thank you for the super chat, Tony. Thank you for the generosity. Thank you, AZ Dusty, for your super chat. I appreciate the generosity to our channel. Thank you so much for coming in. John Till, Byron Leferwich is available. Iowa could sure use a shot in the arm. He's proven at the NFL level with a ring as an offensive coordinator. Thank you, John Till. That's a name I haven't heard. I'm sure it's been thrown around, but I haven't heard it. Maybe there's a couple other NFL or former NFL offensive coordinators that could fit the role for Iowa. Very, very interesting name. Thank you, John Till. Thank you for your super chat. Thank you for your continued generosity to this channel. Thank you so very much, sir. Appreciate it. Okay. The phone lines are back open. 763-260-1333. Purdue has the receipts. 6 games, 6 tickets. A bunch of games. A game, Purdue against Northwestern. Purdue against Ohio State. Purdue against Illinois. Purdue against Fresno State. Those are the games that Connie Stallions bought tickets to the Purdue game. And again, there is surveillance video from Purdue's stadium that's showing people in those seats, videotaping the coach's sideline. I heard today that half the Huskies have the flu going into our showdown. Something to keep an eye on. Rebecca mentioned that yesterday on the live show. Rebecca mentioned Washington and the flu. Or they had the flu last week. Whatever. Something about the flu in Washington was discussed yesterday by Rebecca calling into the show yesterday. So, Thank you, Grateful Trojan, for that bit of info. Bowl stacker. My Mountaineers are going to get bowl eligible this week after getting picked to come in the last in the Big 12. All those talking heads can choke on that big. Well, I'm one of those, bowl stacker. I'm one of them. I did not have the Mountaineers doing good this year. So I will take the L on, I think I already have, but I'll go ahead and take the L again. West Virginia done themselves some good. Again, but I did say that Beanie Bishop was a great pickup in the transfer portal. It hurt the Gophers, especially early in the year. And has helped the West Virginia Mountain. Look at Jeff Olson, the evil Badger. Shame, shame, shame. When you can get an evil Badger like Jeff Olson and myself agreeing on an issue, that means there is huge consensus on the issue. Because me and Jeff Olson, we do not like to agree with each other. We do not like to agree with each other. Jeff Olson's a great friend of mine. Great, great, great friend of mine. But he's an evil Badger. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
Call from
Wild Ute.
Wild Ute is on the line. Holy smokes. Mr. Utah, man. What's going on, sir? The floor is yours. Anything you want to talk about, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy week. Working hard
It's been
here.
a really busy week. Right?
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
I wanted to call in to talk about this Michigan scandal here.
Got it.
And I just want to, I know there's a lot of Michigan fans that listen to Peek Around the Corner. And, I want to communicate from an outside perspective of a Utah football fan that loves college football. It just seems like they don't really understand the magnitude of this situation. And not trying to blast anybody, but it just from all the comments, from all the feedback, the Michigan fan base is so insulated. They don't realize how big of a cheat this really was, and how big of an advantage. You spoke to the injuries. The Big Ten coaches are mad. There's obviously, the plays. The freaking plays of the other team. When they're playing and you already have a more stacked talent level than they do. So, there's so many things that are frustrating from just a college football fan's perspective, just looking at this and looking at the reaction. It's like a sullen guy that's about to go to jail that doesn't want to admit he's done anything wrong. So it's a little bit frustrating for me and a lot of others to actually just listen in and pay attention to that. I really think that the only way that they're going to learn their lesson and learn the magnitude and the severity of this is really if you give them a bowl ban this year. This Michigan team could win the national championship, and all the Michigan fans are saying, well, we've got the best team this year. We're going to destroy everybody and take it out on the field. Well, wait till you get pulled from the CFP, and all of a sudden you get a national championship opportunity removed. Then maybe you'll see the magnitude of it. But as an outside fan, I'm ticked off. I'm not even a Big Ten guy, and I'm ticked off just to hear this stuff. This is massive cheating. This guy went to 50-plus games so far. And you just have to own it, and take some responsibility and eat it. And despite how good your team is this year, that needs to be taken off the table. They do not deserve a chance at a national championship this year or a Big Ten championship. I'm just telling you from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
There's no way they deserve that. And so I'm kind of fed up. And I don't know if others out there are fed up too, but that's how I see it. Just wanted to communicate that to you.
Well, when I've been covering this story real hard because I was told from the get-go this was a massive story, okay? So there are people behind the scenes that know this is they knew it from the get-go, this is a massive story. I have given Michigan fan base a pass for most of this because I think most fan bases would have acted the same way. But now we're at the point where it's not flying with me anymore. If you don't want to hear about it because you're a Michigan fan, I completely understand that. But to keep with these talking points that are just, they're just, I don't want to be this rough on people, but they're embarrassing at this point to bring up. It's not really breaking the rule. You have to be a scout to break the rule. All these things that their beat writers have been just horrific on this issue. They have been irresponsible on this issue. There's going to be a lot of anger because they're leading a whole fan base over the cliff because they keep telling them, no, there's nothing wrong here. And by the way, now Ohio State's in the middle of this. So I agree with you, Wild Dude.
I'm telling you, the reputation, Michigan has one of the best reputations in college football, right, around the nation. And from an outsider, it's just such a smear on the reputation. Michigan fan, listen, this is a smear on the reputation. Having Harbaugh there and trying to extend him right now, what the heck are you guys doing?
Yeah.
You guys need to look in the mirror and see what's going on right now with the program.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you can get to that realization until you take the Big Ten championship and the CFP off the table. I'm just telling you, Greg, if Michigan happens to make their way into the CFP, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to boycott it.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not watching that.
I don't blame you a bit, sir. I don't blame you a bit. Big Ten Ted put a comment here, and I'm sorry, Wild Dude, just give me a couple of minutes to talk about this, and then the floor will be yours if that's okay. Big Ten Ted in a comment said, from a Big Ten perspective, it's frustrating because it didn't need to happen due to their talent level. Been a rough year off the field in the Big Ten. Two things I want to say about it. One is, yes, Michigan has great talent. They're a great football team. And you, Wild Dude, you say I'm fed up with it. I'm upset. I'm even more upset, Wild Oot. I'm even more upset, Big Ten Ted, after reading the Ross Dellinger report that Connor Stallions bought tickets to 6 different Purdue games. And the people were sitting in the seats videotaping games that Purdue were playing teams that Michigan should not have any fear with. Northwestern. So, Fresno State. In other words, they scouted Purdue up and down the line, in-person scouting. Purdue, a team they were going to be 4 They were going to be 4 touchdown favorites against Purdue regardless. Purdue? That means you're out of control. You're absolutely out of control. The second thing I want to say about Big Ten Ted's comment was, you know what? Their talent level is fantastic. But their talent level is probably at a higher level now than it would have been if they wouldn't have done in-person scouting a couple years ago. In other words, in-person scouting gives you advantage. They win every game. They win the Big Ten championship. Then they win the Big Ten championship again. That gives momentum to your recruitment. NIL, donors, Jim Harbaugh. And so just talking about their talent level was probably affected positively because of what they were doing with in-person scouting.
Yeah, the whole program was inflated because of it.
Yes.
It's almost like it's such a cheap thing, how they benefited from this. And again, I guess the most frustrating thing is just the response and the lack of accountability and just taking responsibility and a punishment and trying to fight it off and blow it off like it's no big deal. And again, trying to extend Harbaugh during this. This warrants the coaching staff should be removed, a bowl ban should be implemented. I'm hoping that happens. And it probably will. Given how this thing's moving. I don't think we've seen the end of it either, Greg. I don't know if we're at the iceberg or where we're at with this, but it seems to be pretty extravagant. And I wouldn't be surprised if more stuff comes out and just how crazy this stuff was. But yeah, it's kind of pathetic. You just didn't need to do it.
Yeah, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. Good word to use. Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, that's all I have to say. Definitely said enough on this. So
Got
thanks for
it.
your show. Amazing as always. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Wow, dude. Okay, so here's the talking point for today. On 3 reports, Michigan on 3 reports. Michigan is currently in possession of documents that could link the private investigators behind the sign stealing scandal back to Ohio State. Number one, just show me those documents. And number two, unless you can show me some evidence that someone planted the evidence in the Michigan computer, that they planted evidence of the surveillance cameras, and they planted evidence that there were dummies, there were people sitting in those chairs that were planted by Ohio State. Conor Stallions didn't buy those tickets. Those people didn't go to the chair. That one person, the Division III coach, former player, got paid to do his in-person scouting by Conor Stallions, Venmo. All that is planted by the evil Buckeyes. Unless you can find documents on all that, that wasn't Conor Stallions at the Central Michigan sideline. That was a Buckeye who is the Doppler. He's like the biological twin of Conor Stallions. Unless you can do all that, this story means nothing. And it's probably not true to begin with. That's the problem with these people just throwing this stuff up. You're in so deep with this. People, and I'm not talking about you, AR. You're just putting it up. I've read that. Where's the documents? And now you got to go a long list of this grand conspiracy once again. Grand conspiracy to make it not so. Over what? Over what? Jim Harbaugh. Michigan was Michigan before Jim arrived. Michigan's going to be Michigan again someday after Jim leaves. At some point, the University of Michigan is going to start thinking about the University of Michigan and quit thinking about Jim Harbaugh and his legacy. Because everybody outside of Ann Arbor, I'm just going to let you in, what's happening and he should not be a head coach. I'm sorry to break through that bubble, that Jim Harbaugh bubble that some people have, this cult of personality. It reminds me of Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler. We don't even have our hands on, that hasn't been reported on. And the Central Michigan story the result of that hasn't even broken wide open yet. Disagree. The story means a lot. If schools can now investigate and turn other schools in. Well, first of all, schools turn in other schools. They present evidence to the NCAA, to the Big Ten all the time. Minnesota has brought evidence of tampering, text messages of schools contacting players on their roster who have yet to go into the transfer portal. And the NCAA has that. Schools have been doing that forever. Now, if it's found out that there was a Ohio State investigator and they did it underhandedly and they planted evidence, then that story becomes valuable and big. But it should not be a deflection or rally around the flag or rally around Jim Harbaugh, especially when I haven't seen the evidence yet of Ohio State being the investigative firm or being attacked. It's just more, I could go through a long laundry list of the last 7 days of all the stuff that Jim Harbaugh's protectors, I'll call them, have thrown up that makes just today. We're at November 3rd. We're days and days and days and days into the story. And you still got a big time Michigan blogger, a Michigan YouTube channel guy saying stealing signs is part of college football. Everybody does stealing signs. Again, he knows better. He knows this is not about stealing signs. This is about in-person scouting. But yet, for whatever reason, for his 21,000 subscribers, that 95% of them are Michigan fans, he needs to play the part. Well, I need to play the part, a college football YouTube channel. Most of us have to call it like it is. Else we don't have any credibility on this or anything else. That's how I see it. We'll see. Now, if the Ohio State, if them being attached to the investigation firm, if there's legs to that, I will talk about it. I will report on it. No question about it. Greg, what is Tony Petitti waiting for? The evidence appears to be overwhelming. Why doesn't Tony Petitti take immediate action? Well, we did get a report that Tony Petitti has gotten some evidence from the NCAA, and he let his Big Ten leaders know that. So that's why I think the last report from last night, I think it was from Pete Thamel, said that the Big Ten, people in the Big Ten are now more encouraged that Tony Petitti will take action. Because Tony Petitti cannot act on reports. I will do a YouTube channel, an episode or a live show based on reports, but Tony Petitti cannot act, cannot suspend, he cannot punish the University of Michigan's football program based on reports. He has to see the evidence. It does sound like he is seeing the evidence, and when he gets to that point where he has seen enough, then he can act. It can be a standard punishment or it can be a major punishment. If you look in the Big Ten bylaws, it all depends what the evidence show. So, again, there's 4 weeks left to go in the season. Does Tony Petitti act next week? I think there's a chance. Preponderance of receipts available, yet no action from anyone. Well, yeah, there is so much evidence. That's another thing. This wasn't an elaborate plan, doesn't even describe it. He's at Michigan today, or should be, yes. And there are reports that Tony Petitti's meeting with the president. Matt, I think Michigan is scummy. I think the media is also scummy when Ohio State is about to get dragged through the mud to make things more interesting. I don't know if they're about to get dragged through the mud. No idea if they are. An investigation firm somehow attached to Ohio State. That's a lot of flimsy. We'll see if it happens. We'll talk about it. The media also scummy. What has Pete Thamel done wrong in his reporting? I see people in the media get dragged through. I saw a whole bunch of people get dragged through the media on the Pac-12, Big 12 story. I saw a guy on Twitter, Tony Altimore, just go after everybody in the media who was reporting on stuff in the Pac-12 and the Big 12 that he didn't want to be true. So he called everybody a liar, including me. And it turned out that he was completely wrong and the reporters were completely correct. Reporters got dragged through that mud left and right. He had an whole army set up on Twitter. And they went after me and the reporters. And they were wrong. So, again, hit the pause button. Hit the brakes on going after a certain media person here or there or here or there. And I'm going to get, I've given you a hint around, I've given you a peek around the curtain on this before. A lot of these reporters, almost every single time, has more information than they release. Because they're from their sources, they can't quite release it yet. They have to hold back. That happened to us. It's happened to us so many times here. So we give you a little bit. All that we can do, we have to hold back. So Pete Thamel, I would argue, just my words, not his, I bet he could say a whole lot more, but he is holding back. I bet a lot of people have information on the Central Michigan story with a possible Connor Stallions. But they are holding back until Central Michigan comes out with a report of their own. Just dragging reporters through the mud, as a defense of the university and football program, that doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. I got to be honest. I got to shoot to you straight, PATC community. Because if I don't, then I don't got much of a college football YouTube channel. Sure, I understand that. Reporters are not held responsible when they are wrong. I get it. No, I get it. And I agree with you, Tony. I agree with you. Okay. Well, we're going to shut down this live show for today. We wanted to talk about Purdue having receipts on Michigan. And we did our picks against the spread this week for week 10. And hopefully I don't go 1-7 again this week. And the PATC community is a little bit on a roll. We shall see. You are one game behind Greg the Cooler. We'll see what the results are this week. A lot of big games. LSU versus Alabama is a big one. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Texas. So much fun here in week 10. Notre Dame, Clemson. I could go on and on and on and on. So tomorrow, I don't know what the schedule is going to be for PATC. I'll put it out on Twitter. What's going to happen. Make sure before you leave our channel, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done so, hit the notification bell so you get notified the next time we're coming on, and smash that like button if you like the content that we offered today. Until next time, which is going to be sometime tomorrow. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you.